Candace Owens is officially bringing the receipts. If you haven't seen this live stream from Candace Owens, I'm obviously not going to play the whole thing. I want you guys to go over there and support Candace Owens and the work that she's been doing in general, and specifically on this Charlie Kirk assassination. But I'll leave a link in the description to the full live stream of this, the full live stream from Candace Owens. We're just going to listen to a clip of it where she actually brings receipts, and she shows that Charlie Kirk may have been changing his mind about certain things, and that could have had an impact into what happened to him on that day, on September 10th. Let's get into it and see what Candace Owens had to say. So first off, she teased yesterday that she was going to be dropping some receipts, and she said this on X. She said, "Should I release more of the text chain tomorrow?" Obviously, yes, she should. So she's going to get into it. She's going to give you guys a little bit of background on what happened, why this back and forth was starting. It mainly seemed to come from, or to stem from, Charlie Kirk having some thoughts or some change of thoughts, not only in his stance on Israel, but when it came to his faith. And Candace Owens had mentioned this before. She was trying to bring him over to her side, and he had a back and forth between what type of religion he wanted to practice. So we'll get into that here, and then Candace Owens will actually show us some receipts from Charlie Kirk himself. Check this out.
Was he becoming Catholic?
No. But he really loved Catholic Mass. He loved the ritual of it. He loved the beauty of old Catholic churches and the stained glass.
And him and Erica would go sometimes.
Yeah, well, Erica's a cradle Catholic, but she ended up kind of like me. I grew up Catholic and First Communion and went to Catholic high school, but then I ended up becoming a Christian in college through a Protestant church, through a non-denominational kind of more experience. It was actually Presbyterian, and then it was kind of non-denominational. And I think Erica kind of follows that same path. She and I share that.
Also, by the way, I just want to draw attention to, she's posted a photo of her and Charlie and the kids in Mass before, and somebody in the comment section said, "Oh, are you guys converting?" And she said, "No, we just like attending sometimes." So she herself had said no.
Yeah, and I think Charlie, one of the things, Charlie really hated worshiping in like a gym, you know, or some sort of kind of blank space that you just turn into church. There's no problem. He didn't have a problem with the act of that. He just didn't prefer it. And he loved, again, the ritual, the ancient, feel of a Catholic Mass, and the fact that everybody around the world that was worshiping as Catholic, he loved that. So he had some really big theological hangups with that. You can go check the videos out, him debating with Michael Knowles, in good fun. I mean, they were dear friends, but they loved kind of debating the whole Protestant versus Catholic thing.
Now, given everything that I've shared with you, does that conversation register as like totally and completely authentic, or kind of trying to be like, yeah, no, like he loved the architecture of things, but beyond that, nothing was happening? Like that's not fully honest. And it registered to me like a cover-up of sorts. And I was wondering, like, what are we exactly covering up? Like, I wasn't going Catholic gang, wasn't trying to bring back a 30 Years' War. I was just sharing the communications that I had with him. And now I felt like suddenly so many people were racing to establish that his legacy was anything but Catholic, right? Like he was super de-duper Judeo-Christian. And ironically, it was Judeo-Christianity that I was challenging him on personally, like privately. And I was speaking to him about the political pressures of it, the way that I felt because of last year, that it registered to me like more of a cult than a true theology or a religion, or a religious aspect rather. And it was back in February of this year when, out of nowhere, he's the one that actually messaged me and said, and said Catholicism is sounding better and better in February of 2024. This is kind of when we started having that discussion. We should chat soon. Catholicism is looking better and better. Okay. I then offered back to him a chart just showing how the phrase Judeo-Christianity kind of is really associated with the dawn of the nation of Israel, right? And we did chat about it. We talked about it a lot, and I was thrilled, like I said, and I was being honest, that he was attending Mass. Okay. But I want to, again, state that Charlie was not attending Rob McCoy's church. He was attending Mass, so it registered to me, again, as somewhat disingenuous when Pastor Rob McCoy came out and effectively asked me to, stop looking into all of the things that had happened in the lead up to Charlie Kirk's assassination, or at least asking me to pause it rather would be more fair of an interpretation until the memorial, right? I'm going to jog your memory here. Here is what Pastor Rob McCoy wrote on his Instagram after I exposed the now infamous Hamptons meeting, which took place. He wrote this: Charlie Kirk was my friend and I was his pastor. I want to say,
and this pastor was blasting Candace Owens too. Candace Owens was relentless, as y'all know, at the beginning of the investigation into the Charlie Kirk assassination. And she was not backing down. She mourned her friend in the way she was mourning him. And then she got to work investigating, finding sources, trying to figure things out, and wasn't just comfortable with saying, oh, okay, this all makes sense. And this pastor, he wasn't happy with the coverage that Candace Owens was doing. Now, we haven't heard anything from Erica on this. Obviously, I don't think Erica would say anything, but I'd be interested to know how she feels about the coverage that's been going on from Candace Owens' side as well. Let me know what y'all think about that.
Or at least asking me to pause it rather would be more fair of an interpretation until the memorial, right? I'm going to jog your memory here. Here is what Pastor Rob McCoy wrote on his Instagram after I exposed the now infamous Hamptons meeting, which took place. He wrote this: Charlie Kirk was my friend and I was his pastor. I want to simply say this regarding Candace Owens. Charlie Kirk was a friend to Candace and never publicly spoke poorly of her, although he disagreed with her. He never operated nor entertained gossip or innuendo concerning Candace. My only comment I offer regarding Candace is this: I only wish that at this tragic time of mourning, she would be the friend to Charlie that he was to her. He would never have treated Candace or her family in such a way had, God forbid, this tragedy been hers. All friend loves at all times. Proverbs. Now, I want to be very clear. If Charlie was a friend of mine, I sure hope if I was assassinated in front of the world that he would raise hell to figure out what actually took place in that day. That's not being a friend. A friend is not someone who stays silent when lies are being told by the federal government. That's not a friend. Again, emotionally manipulative. The family can't have you finding out who actually killed him. The family can't have you looking into those things of who was pressuring him behind the scenes. That's not good for the family. It bothers me. I have to be honest with you. That bothers me. I don't even like that, to the untrained eye, he's kind of representing himself or representing Charlie as like a current congregant of his church. I feel like a lot this year I have been feeling as though these pastors are just not as honest as they should be, right? Is that the vibe? Like, a lot of pastors are not really so concerned with the truth, is what I would say. So we should zero in here on Rob and what his motivations might be, right? Why did he decide to post this after I revealed that Hamptons meeting?
It is kind of a weird
you
thing
should
to
know,
post.
I think most people do, that both his son and his daughter-in-law work for Turning Point USA. So whether you want to represent that or not, they have a financial stake in the future of the company. He heads up the faith division. So Charlie's faith.
Oh, man, that's no good. This is all looking really, really weird. And honestly, it really does seem like Candace against the world. Now it makes sense why this pastor would come out and say this. And I don't think Candace has said this before about the pastor being on staff and head of their faith division at Turning Point USA. Now this would make sense why he would say, please just stop bringing all this attention because it's not going to be great for us. It's weird. Getting weird.
And
over
what
here,
direction it was going into would actually matter, right? It would actually matter if Charlie, and I never said he was going to, decided one day to become Catholic. It would have financial implications.
Yes, it would.
I want to be clear. I never had a conversation that Charlie was in the process of converting. Okay. But Rob in particular knew for an absolute fact that Charlie was done with Israel bullying him. That's what bothers me so much about this man. Him allowing these headlines, Charlie's pastor speaks out, crushes Candace because of what she said, not whatever. I don't like it. He knew, and others knew, that Charlie was done with Israel bullying him, and I am now going to present you proof of what I am saying. This is an actual group chat, which happened 2 days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. There were 9 people in total on this chat, including Charlie and Rob McCoy. I'm going to protect the names of the other 7 for now. To be clear, I might actually release a name every day this week, but I want to show you this because suffice it to say, Rob McCoy was on this text thread, and I think it helps contextualize him as a person, in my view,
Show
that
us
he would
the
attack me
receipts.
for telling the truth about the pressure that he was facing.
Wow.
Take a look. So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes,
Wow.
Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this,
Jeez.
leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Then somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term, in my opinion. Like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48.
Whoa, this is huge. Charlie Kirk had the support from the Jewish community. And clearly, as you see here from this text message thread, they were pulling out. They were pulling back their support, right? And then he was saying he was going to be switching and changing so many things. And then he wanted to seemingly look like reestablish his relationship with Candace Owens. Guys, I do not believe in consequences. All of this happened leading up to Charlie Kirk being assassinated. The fact that he had someone who was a Jewish donor pull $2 million worth of support is huge. That is major. And it seemed like, did Charlie Kirk just have some of the wrong people on his team? Them pushing him not to invite Candace Owens? And maybe some would say understandably so. But this is big. A lot of people could be getting looked into because of this, because I don't believe in coincidences. And if the FBI can see this information and just shrug their shoulders and say, there's probably nothing there, then that means there's a lot more here that we don't even know.
8 hours before Charlie was assassinated, he was very clear and he was very explicit, and he did not back down, not in that Hamptons meeting, which they're all lying about, nor in this text thread.
Wow.
I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer for funsies. He's on this chat, okay? So what are we to make of that?
Candace.
Okay, now that I'm showing you this and showing to you that the conversations were real, I want you to reflect, and it took me a lot of patience to allow the lies that were being woven and the misrepresentations of people that were pretending that I was just, high on lying about Charlie and the pressure he was under, the attacks that not just me, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly faced for trying to stand up and tell the truth about what Charlie was actually going through. Why are you hearing it, though, from me and Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly? Isn't that weird? You got people that are hosting a show. Have they, in like one honorable thing, come out and said, like, you know what? F a couple of these donors who made his life a living hell over the last couple of weeks. Why haven't they done that?
Not to mention, Candace did bring up as well that his security detail got switched at seemingly the last minute to, again, allegedly a heavily tied Israeli security team. Let's say that. And again, y'all can go back and you can watch Candace's live stream where she talked about this and gave all the information. It's been documented. It's been seen that this is what happened. There was a last minute switch, a lot of moving parts, some interesting things happening with security, people around Charlie Kirk during the assassination not knowing what was going on. Man.
There's also a rabbi in that chat. Like, why hasn't anybody made that move to at least say, to vindicate what I have been saying about what he was going through? That registers to me as very suspicious. I'm going to frankly say that. It's suspicious to me.
I agree.
It makes me think that in the same way that Charlie was being pressured by money, that you might be now run by that same money, that those same donors might be running you to correct the ship and to focus yourselves on eulogizing Charlie as something and someone that never once flinched, never once for a single second doubted the Israeli cause. Now they want us to suddenly believe the best way to honor Charlie is to shut up. The exact opposite of what he quite literally laid down his life doing. Answering questions, turning point. answering the questions is what he was doing in the second that he died, okay? And we all are feeling spiritually the same way, so I'm just going to say it. They're not grieving right. It's not up to us to decide how people grieve, but I will say unequivocally that you shouldn't grieve by lying or by gaslighting. Is that fair? Can we all agree? You should not grieve by lying and gaslighting the public. They want us to believe that the only way that we can support and honor Charlie's legacy is by donating our money. But it would not be supportive for us to try to figure out who killed him and why the feds are lying. We should instead just trust the feds and excuse their little half-truths that they're telling along the way. Now, on that point,
no way.
They keep trying to make it seem like it's completely normal that 4 minutes after Charlie was shot, someone on their team nervously raced to grab the SD cards, specifically from the camera that is behind Charlie's head. And that was because during that time, I think it's like trying to make it normal that his instinct was to stand on Charlie's chair to actually violate a crime scene, but also to mysteriously just grab the SD card out of the camera, right? Not only are they pretending that that was completely normal, but they're also presenting it as though it was a heroic act. It was like a forthright, clarified act to do in that moment. And that
Well, the problem with that is that the person who allegedly, again, this is all alleged, the person who allegedly took the information out of the camera and the SD card had connections to the family. And they're saying through reports that they took the SD card out because they didn't want it to be taken by someone else. They didn't want Erica to have to see what happened. And then also they gave that information and were willing to give that information to the FBI and local law enforcement. And guess what? Law enforcement didn't want to see it. You're like, oh, cool, buddy. Thanks for that. We're good.
Act. It was like a forthright, clarified act to do in that moment. And that anyone who uses their own eyes and sees it as maybe a little bit suspicious are just in the business of spinning conspiracies. Now, that's exactly what was communicated by Andrew Colvett when he sat across from Tucker Carlson, who was hosting Charlie's show. And gratefully, Tucker Carlson instantly responded with a much more sensible approach. Take a listen.
By the way, just one other conspiracy theory I just want to snuff out here. One of our dear friends that literally from the very beginning started with us.
A dear friend.
And loved Charlie like a brother. He grabbed the SD cards out of the camera afterwards. And there's all these conspiracy videos about, like, why did he grab the SD cards? Well, first of all, they're in the possession of the FBI. Okay. It's not like he took them and like ran off with them. Second of all, I asked him personally, I said, why did you do that? And he looked at me and this was his answer. He said, because I know people can be evil. And he did not want that footage being grabbed by somebody. There was videos of people after the incident going and stealing hats off the table.
Yeah, y'all know TMZ would have been right up there like, hey, somebody get those SD cards. I could see it now.
I mean, so I'm so grateful he did that and that was his instinct. He's like, I'm depressed to know that was why I did that, but I knew that I had to protect that footage because I wanted, I mean, you know, you're recording in like 4K, you know? And so I'm so glad he did that. But Charlie knew the existence of evil. And
well, can I just say, I think that people can feel the existence of evil, and that just to put in a sympathetic word for people who are trying to make sense of this and coming to the wrong conclusions, I think they're motivated, for the most part, by pure intent. I think they don't trust the authorities. They have every reason to feel that way. I know that for a fact. Not the Trump administration, in general. Like, we're not, you know, there's been a lot of lying, and it's corroded the trust. That's not their fault, actually. They're the victims of it.
That's a good point. Thank you for saying that.
So let me know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat. Candace, shout out to her, finally giving us some great receipts. And when it comes to this entire investigation and things that were happening leading up to Charlie Kirk's assassination, this is very important. $2 million here, a change of ideals, change of essentially possibly the entire face of Turning Point USA and the entire company. That's a big deal. And now you're changing views on someone who was maybe possibly invested in your company. lot going on, and I feel like this isn't going to be the last we're going to hear about it. Again, y'all make sure you go support Candace on this journey as she's doing this great investigative work. We're going to leave a link in the description for you to watch the entire live stream from her, and we'll keep you up to date on specifics about her findings and what we're seeing and hearing from the FBI and local law enforcement as well.